Hello, everyone. Good evening. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I did promise you the tour through the Baroque portion of Hampton Court. I'm getting ready to upload it. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy.
Our journey begins at Fountain Court, the centerpiece of William and Mary's Baroque transformation. Designed by Sir Christopher Wren, this symmetrical courtyard replaces part of the older Tudor palace with sweeping colonnades and large sash windows, allowing natural light to flood the space. Imagine entering this court in the 1690s. The carefully arranged fountains, classical stonework, and balance of proportions were intended to awe visitors and demonstrate the monarchy's power and taste. The architectural shift from Tudor to Baroque marks a new chapter in the palace's history, a chapter of elegance, order, and absolute control over design. The state apartments in the Baroque section of Hampton Court Palace, primarily designed during the reign of William III and Mary II, consist of a series of rooms meant to showcase royal power, prestige, and refinement. These rooms are part of the King's and the Queen's apartments, each tailored to reflect their roles and functions within the court. The King's apartments were designed to impress visitors and dignitaries, following a strict ceremonial progression from public to private spaces. The guard chamber was the first room visitors entered in the King's apartments. This room was used to display the King's military power and wealth. The walls were covered with an impressive arrangement of weapons, including swords, muskets, and pistols, with ornate decoration reflecting martial themes. The presence chamber was a formal audience room where the king could meet courtiers and ambassadors. As I've mentioned in other videos, the pictures and tapestries you see here simply cannot fully capture the grandeur and intricate details of the art and architecture at Hampton Court Palace. The craftsmanship, the vibrant colors, and the sheer scale of these works are truly something that can only be fully appreciated in person. The Privy Chamber at Hampton Court Palace was one of the most exclusive and private spaces in the King's state apartments. It served as a semi-private retreat where the king could meet with his closest advisors, trusted courtiers, or favored guests. This room marked a significant step in the ceremonial progression of access. Only the most privileged individuals were allowed here. Though smaller and less formal than the grand public rooms, the Privy Chamber was still richly decorated, with luxurious furnishings, tapestries, and personal touches that reflected the king's taste. The eating room was a semi-private dining area where the king might dine in view of select courtiers. They were laden with lavish furnishings and tapestries to reinforce the king's magnificence even during meals. It was also in vogue at the time to have the occasionally commoner come and watch the king and his household. Think of it as the social media of the 1700s. After the semi-public eating room, we transition into the most personal and private areas of the king's state apartments. These spaces offered the monarch a retreat from the formalities of court life, while still serving as stages for power and influence. The king's private chamber, Great Bedchamber, this was one of the most significant rooms in the apartments. While the elaborate four-poster bed, often adorned with silk and velvet, might suggest a sleeping chamber, it was primarily ceremonial. Here, the king might receive only his closest advisors or favored courtiers. It was a room of dual purpose, a space for relaxation and an opportunity to display opulence on an intimate scale. The bed itself was more of a symbolic centerpiece, representing the monarch's personal authority, even in private. This chamber also occasionally hosted select visitors for informal discussions or small gatherings, further emphasizing its blend of personal comfort and political importance. The king's dressing room, closet. This smaller, more private room served a highly personal yet ritualistic function. Dressing was not just a matter of daily routine for a monarch, it was an act steeped in ceremony. Select courtiers or attendants would be invited to assist the king or observe, marking this as a privilege and honor. The room was modest in size but still richly decorated, often with a writing desk, comfortable chairs, and shelves for books or religious items. It was a multifunctional space where the king might write correspondence, review documents, or simply enjoy a moment of solitude. 4. Intimate space, spiritual reflection. The final part of the King's State Apartments reflects the deeply personal and spiritual side of royal life. The King's private oratory, private chapel. This small and serene room was designed for personal worship and prayer. Unlike the grandeur of the Chapel Royal, which was used for large-scale religious ceremonies and public displays of piety, the private oratory offered the king a place of quiet reflection. It was adorned with religious art, a small altar, and perhaps a prayer desk or kneeler. This intimate setting allowed the king to connect with his faith in private, emphasizing his role as a divinely appointed ruler, a retreat for the monarch's inner circle. Access to the oratory was extremely restricted, reserved for the king and perhaps a trusted clergyman or attendant. The space was not just about personal devotion, it was a symbolic reminder of the monarch's divine right to rule and his relationship with God. In an era when religion and politics were deeply intertwined, the oratory reinforced the spiritual authority of the crown, combined significance of private and intimate rooms. These rooms, spanning from the great bedchamber to the private oratory, marked the culmination of the ceremonial progression through the king's state apartments. They transitioned from the semi-public grandeur of the presence and eating rooms to spaces where the monarch could engage in personal, reflective, and even vulnerable moments. The careful design and arrangement of these rooms not only catered to the king's daily needs, but also underscored his authority, privacy, and divine role as the ruler of England. Of the Baroque side of Hampton Court Palace, a stunning testament to the ambition and elegance of King William III and Queen Mary II. From the grandeur of Fountain Court and the ceremonial splendor of the state apartments to the intimate privacy of the king's dressing room and oratory, we've explored spaces that reveal the monarch's power, refinement, and vision. As we leave these halls, we step back into the modern day, but the legacy of the Baroque era remains vivid in the artistry, architecture, and stories preserved here. Hampton Court is not just a palace, it's a living monument to the past, blending history with timeless beauty. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed the tour, be sure to explore the Tudor side of the palace or the breathtaking gardens to experience the full magic of Hampton Court. Until next time, take care and keep discovering history.